Top-end bikes have gotten just so expensive. Does a model even count as flagship these days if the price tag isn't running firmly into 5 figures? But rather than lament the fact that Dura-Ace is slipping ever further out of reach, if it ever really was that close to begin with, since the release of our 9212 speed, let's instead take a look right at the other end of the scale. It's worth taking a moment to reflect on just how good the lower-tier road bike group sets have become. Although Shimano's third-tier 105R7000 group set often gets touted as the people's drivetrain, it wasn't so long ago that the racer's choice was spinning one sprocket fewer, in the guise of 6700 Series 10-speed Ultegra. Now, times have moved on and Shimano's current 10-speed offering has a much more budget-oriented focus in the shape of 4th-tier Tiagra. But how do the two directly compare? Has trickle-down tech made modern Tiagra not only cheaper, but better as well? Or was 6700 Series Ultegra simply a better build and execution of a 10-speed group set? Shifters and shifting. The shifters represent perhaps the greatest divergence between modern Tiagra and Ultegra 6700, and it's the cheaper gruppo that comes out best. A perennial issue of this generation of Ultegra is that the lever for shifting into smaller sprockets is itself just a bit too small. Often it's not an issue, but when wearing bulky gloves or when reaching for that next gear in the heat of a sprint, it was always quite easy to fumble the shift. With Tiagra 4700, on the other hand, that lever grows in size and makes the shift just that much easier. Perhaps some more subjective are the ergonomics of the levers. Ultegra 6700 feels quite wide on the hoods where your palms tend to sit, and the way the front of the lever rises up just doesn't lock you in quite as well as on the more recent designs. Braking. Here we start getting a little closer to apples and oranges territory. It's pretty rare that you see a Tiagra rim brake build these days, and there was a hydraulic disc brake version of 10-speed Ultegra. But with that said, there is still enough crossover to draw out a few comparisons. Taking the stock rim brake setups for each of the group sets, Ultegra is the clear winner here. The compound of the pads and the presence of brake shoe gives a more positive braking feel with more power and greater control. The basic one-piece brake blocks of the Tiagra stoppers result in quite a spongy and underpowered performance in comparison. The flip side to this is that brake pads are a relatively inexpensive upgrade, and as a consumable, it's a part you're going to have to replace at some point. Putting some better pads on Tiagra calipers can transform the performance. Gearing. This is another area where the stock options from the Ultegra 6700 series are quite a bit better than what you get with Tiagra 4700. You had the 11-23 for flat riding/racing, with the 16 sprocket smoothing out the jump between the 15 and 17 sprockets. Some people don't mind that gap, but there are others who seem to always find themselves on the wrong side of it. Then there was the 11-28, which had the same number of single-tooth jumps as an 11-speed 11-28 cassette, just with slightly larger jumps between easiest gears of the cassette. But as is commonly pointed out, bigger gaps at that end of the gearing range aren't so noticeable. In all, there are quite a few points where modern Tiagra 4700 series has an edge of 10-speed Ultegra 6700 series, namely, regarding the lever ergonomics and shifting performance. There are some areas where Ultegra 6700 retains an edge over Tiagra 4700, the braking performance and gearing options being the main ones. But given that these parts are consumable and can easily be swapped into a modern Tiagra system, I'm going to hand the win to Tiagra, and that's just considering the performance, not factoring in the relative price difference. With Tiagra coming out top, that opens up a whole next set of questions. Are we perhaps being spoiled by 105? Could Tiagra be all that's really needed in many cases? What about modern Sora? How does that compare to 9-speed Dura-Ace? We are going to end this video right away. If you have any query or information to share, please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching.